In just 10 months, Rush's iconic drummer Neil Peart lost his only daughter in a car crash and his wife to cancer. And with them, it seemed, the music died too. He looked at his bandmates and told them to consider him retired. For 5 years, the legendary rock trio that had conquered the world for over 2 decades simply stopped. The silence was overwhelming. This is the story of how a man who lost everything found his way back from the brink, and how a band on the verge of disappearing created the most emotionally raw and triumphant album. This is the story behind Vapor Trails. Back in 1997, Rush was on top of the world. Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, and Neil Peart were a finely tuned machine, a brotherhood of musical geniuses who had just wrapped up another successful tour for their album Test for Echo. Neil Peart, the band's lyrical soul, returned home to his family, which he valued more than anything. Then the unthinkable happened. On August 10th, 1997, Peart's 19-year-old daughter, Selena, was killed in a car accident. The tragedy was a direct hit, shattering the foundation of his world. As Peart and his common-law wife of 23 years, Jacqueline Taylor, struggled with their grief, tragedy struck again. Jacqueline was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and just 10 months after losing their daughter, she was gone. Neil Peart was convinced she died of a broken heart, calling it a slow suicide by apathy. He was completely alone. At Jacqueline's funeral, he turned to Geddy and Alex, his brothers, and said the words they dreaded but understood: "Consider me retired." And just like that, Rush was over. The pain was too much. The music had stopped. Facing an unimaginable emptiness, Neil Peart did the only thing he could think of. He escaped. He packed a few things, got on his BMW motorcycle, and just started riding. He had no destination. For the next 14 months, he rode 55,000 miles across North America, down through Mexico to Belize, then back again. He became a ghost on the highway, trying to outrun his own shadow. This incredible journey became the subject of his book, Ghost Rider Travels on the Healing Road. It's a raw and moving account of a man wrestling with grief. He wasn't just crossing landscapes, he was navigating the broken pieces of his own soul. The road wasn't a cure, but it was a way to keep moving forward. Then standing still was impossible. Meanwhile, Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson were in limbo. They gave their friend the space he needed, never pressuring him. They were friends first, bandmates second, but the future of the band they had built their lives around was a huge question mark. Geddy later admitted he thought Rush was done for good. He channeled his own creative energy into a solo album, My Favorite Headache, while Alex produced other bands, but that unique Rush chemistry was gone. Slowly but surely, after thousands of miles on the open road, something started to change for Neil. He eventually found a new reason to live, remarrying in 2000. The journey didn't erase the pain, but it showed him that a future was still possible, and with a tiny flicker of hope, something he hadn't felt in years, the urge to make music again. In January 2001, almost 4 years after they last played together, the three members of Rush walked into a Toronto studio. It was tentative, emotional, and totally uncertain. Alex Lifeson said the first few weeks weren't even about music, just about talking, reconnecting, and trying to heal. As Geddy Lee put it, it was like Rush learning how to be Rush again. They made new rules, no deadlines, no pressure. The album would take as long as it needed. The sessions were intense. For the first time since 1975, they decided to ditch keyboards and synthesizers entirely. They wanted to strip the sound back to the raw power of guitar, bass, and drums. The music that came out of those sessions was heavy, direct, and dripping with emotion. Neil's lyrics, once full of sci-fi and philosophy, were now painfully personal. He wrote about his journey, his grief, and his first steps back into the light. The song Ghost Rider is literally a travel log from his motorcycle odyssey. Tracks like Earthshine, Secret Touch, and Sweet Miracle explore a lost connection and finding glimmers of hope in the dark. The recording process was a marathon. lasting a staggering 14 months, the longest they'd ever spent on an album. But the intensity led to a problem. When Vapor Trails was released in May 14, 2002, it was immediately criticized for its production. It was a victim of the loudness wars, a trend where volume was cranked up at the expense of everything else. The sound was compressed and distorted, a wall of noise that many fans, even the band, found hard to listen to. Alex Lifeson later admitted the mastering was poorly done and just hard on your ears. Actually, this copy here is the remix version, which I'll talk about in a minute. This came in the box set, so I'll get to this soon. Despite production problems, Vapor Trails was seen for what it was, a monumental comeback. It was a triumph, not just music, but of the human spirit. The album debuted at number 6 on the Billboard 200, and the lead single, One Little Victory, shot off the rock charts. For fans who had waited 5 long years, the return of Rush was that one little victory. The band has survived the unimaginable and come out on the other side scarred but whole. Making the album was therapy. It was a way for 3 friends to heal together with the music as their catharsis. But the story doesn't end there. For years, the band was unhappy with how the album sounded. Finally, in 2013, they got a do-over. The entire album was remixed by producer David Bottrill and released Vapor Trails Remixed, which is the one I have here. Geddy said it finally brought some justice and clarity to this deserving body of our work. The new mix was a revelation. The songs could finally breathe. You can hear the intricate bass lines, shimmering guitars, and all the nuance in Peart's drumming that had been buried before. The songs had been redeemed. The story of Vapor Trails is one of the most powerful in rock history. It's an album born from the deepest tragedy, and it stands as a monument to friendship, resilience, and the healing power of music. What does this album mean to you? And which version do you have? The original 2013 remix, or do you have the original? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the story, be sure to like, subscribe, share it with another Rush fan. Vapor Trails is so much more than a comeback album. It's a document of survival, a reminder that even in the darkest storm, sun can rise again. Neil Peart, a man who lost everything, challenges pain into something profound and ultimately life-affirming. Through music, he and his bandmates found their way back to each other. In doing so, they created a masterpiece, the sound of a band not just playing music, but fighting its way back to life. And if you want to check out the story of Rush and Presto, I did a video of that recently. I will stick it right there. This is the JC Rock CD and vinyl channel where I talk about albums in my physical media collection. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.